Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to make vegetable stew. I have here on the table fresh tomatoes, chili pepper and onions. Then I have the vegetables that I'm going to mix with the stew. I have chicken. We are going to boil the chicken and do the stew and add up the vegetables. Then I have here the vegetables I have here on the table is green beans, green onions, carrots, the celery, and the bell pepper are not forgotten in this stew. It's very important, and the green pepper is not forgotten. Then the onions and the cabbage, and I have here the broccoli. I'm putting the broccoli in the water to wash it very well to remove the dirt in it. Then while we are boiling the chicken, I'm going to blend the fresh tomatoes and the chili pepper and the onions. I'm making the stew with tin tomatoes with the fresh tomatoes. And I'm going to boil the chicken. I've seasoned the chicken. I use pepper, onions, salt, and seasoning, and one of the spices, thyme, to season the chicken. We are going to boil the chicken. When the chicken is done, then we are going to make the stew. After boiling, while I'm boiling the chicken, I'm going to blend the fresh tomatoes with the chili pepper and the onions, then come back to make this stew. I'm going to put the fire on. Okay. I'm going to blend the tomatoes right now. Like I said, I'm going to blend the tomatoes with the chili pepper and the onions. Since I want the chili pepper, the seed, to blend very well, I'm not going to put the chili pepper with the tomatoes at the first time to blend it. I'm going to blend the chili pepper with the onions first of all. Before adding the fresh tomatoes, I will add a little bit of water to make the blender to be flexible. I'm blending the chili pepper and onions first. I'll still continue to add water to make the blender to be flexible. Then add the fresh tomatoes to blend together. Add up the blend the fresh tomatoes. I'll continue blend it together. Done with the first stage. Fresh tomatoes has not finished. I will still finish. I will still do more. See how other ones here. And then this one. Now add a little bit of water to make the blender to be flexible. tomatoes. I'm doing the stew now. First of all, I'll put salt and I put the onions. The oil is hot. Put my onions. Then I'm going to put the tin tomatoes. Put my tin tomatoes. The reason I'm putting the tin tomatoes first is that I'm going to fry the tin tomatoes. I will fry it so that it will not break out the sour taste in it. Because the tin tomatoes, if not really fried, can bring the sour taste, unlike the fresh tomatoes. The fresh tomatoes also, if not that you fry it, is going to bring the sour taste. Also, some people used to boil the fresh tomatoes first and dry the water before they now use it for stew. But in my stew, I don't boil the fresh tomatoes. I put it right here after frying the tin tomatoes, and it's not going to bring any sour taste. The tin tomatoes, I'm going to fry it for 1 minute. I'm going to fry the tin tomatoes for 1 minute. I add on my seasoning and fry. I add up thyme, one of the spices, and the curry while I'm frying the tin tomatoes. I'm frying the tin tomatoes for 1 minute. The tin tomatoes now is well fried. At this stage, there is no sour taste. How do you know if there is no sour taste in the tin tomatoes? When you first of all put the tin tomatoes, when you turn it, continue turning it and stirring it, you notice that it will scatter in the oil. So when you start seeing the solid state of it, when you start putting in the spoon and it becomes solid, like what I'm showing you here, it's forming the solid state, you know that the sour taste is gone. After the sour taste is gone, you pour in the fresh tomatoes. Just pour in the fresh tomatoes and continue turning it. Then you allow it to cook. You allow your fresh tomatoes with the tin tomatoes to cook together. You cook together for like 5 minutes. Then you come back and see if it's okay. Okay, let's check our stew. I said we are going to boil the fresh tomatoes with the tin tomatoes for like 5 minutes. Then you keep on checking so that your stew will not get burnt. Maybe at each minute you check it, every 1 minute you check it, but you can decide to check at every 2 minutes. Like mine, I check it after 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, I'm coming to check back the stew. Then you turn your stew, continue to stir it. When you have the oil floating on top of your stew, the top of your stew is going to fill up with oil, just oil. You don't see any tomatoes on it, only the oil will be floating on top of the stew. That is when you know that the sour taste is gone. The sour taste from the fresh tomatoes is completely gone. So I'm going to cover it again and check back at 1 minute or 2 minutes, but we are still cooking for 5 minutes. Let's check our stew after 5 minutes. Woo! See where our stew is? Look at it. It's floating with oil. It's floating with oil. Like I said, when you see it floating with oil, turn it. That means the sour taste is gone in the fresh tomatoes and in the tin tomatoes. See the way it is? At this point, you add your chicken. I'm going to add the chicken. I'm adding the chicken right now. You add up your chicken when the sour taste is done. If you add the chicken when your sour taste is not done, the chicken can even soak the sour taste and give your chicken another taste in which you won't like it. Wow! So after adding the chicken, I'll add the broth, the chicken broth. Small. Pour it in your stew. Stir it. Then you notice that I did not put the bay leaves, but I put the curry. Then I can add a little bit of curry. Then I add up the bay leaves. The reason I'm adding these bay leaves, the last thing is I'm putting it on top of the oil so that it can really bring the aroma of what you are cooking. See, I'm adding my bay leaves. It's one of the spices and the curry I'm using. The other time I put thyme and curry, I did not put the bay leaves. So at this point you add your bay leaves and continue to stir it. Wow! Okay, let me have a taste of the stew. Without you even having the taste, okay? Without you having the taste of the stew, for you to taste if the sour taste is gone. By the time the oil floats on top of your stew, even when you are not tasting the stew, that sour taste is gone. That's why I didn't bother testing the stew, because I know already, seeing this oil floating, see oil here, it's floating. The oil floating does not mean that there is too much of oil. No, it is not. If your stew is not floating the oil, it will not blow too much of oil. If it's not floating, that means the sour taste is not gone. So long as you use the fresh tomatoes, it doesn't mean that there is too much oil. No. If you scoop your stew, you notice that not too much of oil. See how it is. So I have to cover it. Is that you cover it or you leave it anywhere, and you can decide to cover your stew at this point or you leave it. Then in a few seconds, I'm going to put the stew down. So friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel. We have more of the cooking to show you. More are coming. Continental, intercontinental dishes, more are coming. Baking is coming. There are more coming from this YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Anything you are not seeing in the video, maybe like the cutting of the vegetable, you check one of my videos, you see the way I'm cutting the vegetables, or maybe in the soup, how I'm cutting my vegetables in the soup. You check one of my videos, you see the way I'm cutting my vegetables. So anything you feel like you didn't see in the video, maybe we put it in another video because of the size. So feel free, go there and check it, and go to the market and try to see if what we are doing here, you can achieve it. You can do it, you can make it. Let's check our stew. Like I said, in seconds. It's not going to take us up to 1 minute. Check it. Woo! This is done. See the chicken, Wow, wow, this is good. So at this point we are done with the stew. So we are going to the vegetable. You put the stew aside, and is either way you steam your vegetable, you boil it your vegetable if you don't want it to be fried, or you fry it. But in this video I'm going to fry the vegetables in this video. Then I will now put the stew aside, and I will bring water here. The purpose of putting this water is for me to boil the broccoli for like few seconds, not up to a minute. The purpose I'm boiling the broccoli is to make the broccoli to be crispy and tender in size. So I boil it for a few seconds, then I remove it, then and go back to do the flambe. We are going to do the flambe broccoli. So if flambe broccoli is a French word. Flambe means flaming or flamed. So you are going to see how the flambe is being done. That's the first thing I'm going to do with the vegetables. I will do the flambe broccoli first, then I now fry the other vegetables. So you watch out to see how we are going to do the flambe broccoli. Sometimes you don't do the flambe broccoli, you just steam it, steam your broccoli and use it like that and put in the vegetable. Just steaming or just boiling it is the other way around. But if you want the broccoli to give you a real flavor, crispy flavor, you do the flambe broccoli and you see how it's going to taste. Then I put the broccoli. First of all, put salt. Put salt in the water. You put salt in the salty water, and then you put your broccoli. See, I'm putting my broccoli. Then I put the water aside. Then after a few seconds, I'm going to remove the broccoli and do the flambe broccoli. This is the time to do the flambe broccoli. You put your olive oil in your pan, in your fry pan, or you use butter, a little bit of butter to do your flambe broccoli, or olive oil, a little bit of olive oil. This is the olive oil, and put it in the frying pan. Then you allow the oil to heat up. When it's at the peak of it, then you add salt to it to test your oil. Then add the broccoli. So I'm adding my broccoli now. Add the broccoli. Then you add seasoning cubes, a little bit of seasoning cubes. Sprinkle it on the broccoli, a little bit. Continue to turn it. Continue to turn it for some seconds. Like I said, the purpose of the flambe broccoli is to make the broccoli to have a good flavor and tender. Then when you boil your broccoli, it gives that crispy and tender kind of look. Then when you do the flambe broccoli, it gives you that rich flavor of it. That is when you perceive the flavor of the broccoli very well. You continue turning it. And allow it to reach the peak of it. Continue to turn it around. Let it heat up. What you are using to do the flambe broccoli is either you use wine or you use vodka. But if you use wine, you have to use a wine that has a little bit of alcohol. Or you use vodka and put a little bit in the broccoli, and that is when you see that flambe coming up. Flambe is a French word meaning flame or flaming. That is flame or fire on top of what you are doing. The purpose of it is that it will make the broccoli to be brownish in color. Now the broccoli is still greenish in color, not brownish. By the time you do the flambe broccoli, you see that some part of it will turn to be brownie, and that is when you are really getting the rich flavor of the broccoli. At this point, I'm going to add my vodka. You put it in the cup. This way, you bring the alcohol and you pour it off. Then, this is the flambe I'm talking about. You see how the fire is on top of the broccoli? See how it is? And it makes the broccoli to be brownish in color, and it will bring the rich flavor of it. That is where you are getting the flavor of the broccoli and the color. Let me show you how it is. Like I said, it will make the broccoli to be brownish, one side of it. See how it is? One side of it is brownish. And another one here is here. There's another one that is brownish. Then you turn it, and you turn it in a plate and keep it aside and fry the other vegetables, then and mix up in your stew. Then at this point, we are going to fry the rest of the vegetables and add up the broccoli, the flambe broccoli. Then, like I said, that you first of all fry the carrots and the green beans. You put the onions, the green onions here. You don't put the other vegetables from the leaves from the onions at this point. You don't put it. Then you put your green beans first. See how I'm cutting my green beans? Not tiny. I divided it into two. Just that. Then you put in your carrots. You pour in the carrots. Turn it. Please don't put too much of oil. Just a little bit of oil is okay. Then, what I'm going to put now is the pepper. The green pepper is coming in here. See the green pepper? It's coming in here. And you spread it. Then, you put your yellow pepper. You can decide to put all like this, or you divide it. I'm not putting the seasoning yet. You have to put seasoning. When I combine all the vegetables, that's when I'm putting the seasoning. Put a little bit of seasoning. You can decide to add pepper, the red pepper, the blended pepper, or you leave it. Depends on how you want it. It's optional. The red pepper here, the blended red pepper is optional. Then you put in the leaves of the green onions. Give the celery first. Don't put the celery. This is the green onions. We turn it. Continue to turn it, mix them together. Then you put your cabbage. By the time you put all these things in the stew, the vegetable will go down a little bit. Sometimes you make it half done, not really done, so that the vegetable will not be too soft in your stew. You turn it side by side. If it's too much on your frying pan, turn it side by side. You turn it side by side if it's too much on your frying pan. Then you go back to your seasoning, like I said. Add a little bit of seasoning to it. Add the seasoning a little bit. Then you put your curry. Sprinkle it. Then you can add your bay leaves. And continue turning it. At this point, the flavor has started coming out from the vegetables. You don't put the celery. Continue turning it. The flavor has started coming out. You perceive the flavor. Turn it side by side gently. Wow! I'm not going to put the celery for now. I'll shift it closer. Celery closer. Like I said, you can decide to put the red pepper at this point. If you are the type that like pepper, so you can decide not to put the pepper. It's optional here. Continue turning it. You put your hands side by side so that the vegetables move up. See how it is right now. So the size is reducing. The point that you know that you have to put it back to the stew is when the size of your vegetable has started reducing. You can see that it has started reducing. So to make it half done, at this point, you add up your celery. Add it up here. Then you add the broccoli, the flambe broccoli. Have you seen it? Take a look. Wow. Turn it and put your hand side by side. Put your hand side by side and turn it. Continue turning it. Allow it to mix evenly. Wow, have you seen how it is? At this point, you go back to your stew. Remember I said we are making vegetable stew. You put this aside and you bring your stew on fire and you pour in your vegetables. Have you seen? Pour it inside, pour it inside. Then please, you can put this one aside. These other leaves here, you can put it aside so that when you are putting your food in a plate, then you put it by the side to make it to look attractive. Because the way you package your food will invite someone to eat. The aroma of the food, flavor, and the way you package it will make someone to eat it. At this point, you might not even use the frying spoon. Use the normal spoon at this point. Put aside your frying spoon, then you not use the normal spoon and turn it. See the way I'm turning mine? This is your vegetable stew. How do you see it? This is your vegetable stew. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. We have more to offer you. We have so many foods there. We have so many cooking. Subscribe to my YouTube channel.